Hi, this is just a quick training on how to create a registration using DT Register. So when you logged in, the first thing you need to do is click on DT Register. So let's just click there. Now you'll notice that across the top there are a number of menus. These are different directions than the ones that are down here. So what I want to do, now in this case, however, events matches, so you can click either one. And now the next page shows you all of the different classes, the different registrations that have been created. We have a few different categories here and I will go over those. You'll also notice that there's different email addresses to which these registrations are attached. If they're a class, or a workshop that's in the education department, we use my email address unless it's something else I've specified, like YFM. So if you're in the communications department and you're creating events, whether they're special events or just regular events, you can use communications@csldallas.org. Oh, by the way, if you're searching for one, you need to modify it for some reason, then you would click in the search bar and enter in the title or any word in the class or event, and it'll take you to that particular one. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new one. We click on New, and then we wait. Okay, this is the first screen. Now you'll notice there are different tabs here: General, Discounts and Fees, Messages, Emails, Fields, and User Panel. I'm going to go through what to do in each one of these tabs, because there are different things you're going to need. So let's look at the event owner. The event owner is the person that creates the event. So in this case, it would be me. So I'm Carol Admin. I click on that. This is a new event, and then we're going to write the title, and I'm going to call this Sample Class. The event category would be Education. The event location, typically for everything we do, is at CSL Dallas. Yes, I want to publish the event. Then we're going to put in the date and time, and you'll notice this little, I don't know what that's called, the 3 dots at the end. I'll make it in, let's say September 16th. That's a Monday, so we click on that. And then you'll see the time here. This is an empty field, but if you click on this, then you'll see a default time come up, which is now. So I'm doing this at 9:36 a.m., but we're going to change that. So let's make it at 3 o'clock p.m. So I click 3, click in the middle, put 0, 0, and I want it to be p.m., so I'm clicking on that and I'm pressing P. Okay, so now let's look at the end. And let's say this is going to be a 3-week class. So from 9/16, we'll go to 1 to October 1st. All right, and then it's going to end at, say, 10 p.m. 10 o'clock p.m. Don't worry about the time zone. We have a default time zone in there. Now, where are these registration emails going to go? Well, this time they're going to go to carol@csldallas.org. Now let me show you something. We have 3 types of registrations. Currently, the default is set to individual, and the nice thing about this is every individual that's going to register for a class will be able to be identified. And a person can, when they go online to register, they can, as an individual, add more than one person. So the other day I bought tickets. And what I did was, as me, I logged in as me, I bought myself a ticket to a movie. And then before I checked out, I bought another ticket to a movie, and I put my husband's name in there. So when I checked out, there was 2 tickets to a movie, even though I used the individual registration type. When you click on group, what happens is it says who's a group, and if you're a couple, it gets very confusing. People don't understand the word group. So we leave that out, and we have our default individual. The status is always public, and then we leave all this part out. Okay, now let's look at the registration open date. Now what I normally do is leave this blank because the registration open date will be now, as soon as I create this. Now I'll want a cutoff date. If it's a class, you want that cutoff date to be the day after the last day of the class, because you want this to stay online. People are actually going to be buying and purchasing, etc., all the way through to the end of the class, as is our policy. So that would mean, what did I say? When's it going to end? September something? Whatever the date was, let's say it's the 24th. That's the last day, and I'll just make it at 9:41 a.m. We don't need a waiting list, no prerequisite categories, no more details. Now you can do all of this, but we don't do it, okay? And you could even do an image, etc., which we don't do. So that's that, all right? Now what I would do at this point is I would click Save, because I just created it. I don't want it to go anywhere. Now let's look at discounts and fees. Now I do want you to know that if you're doing a normal event or a typical personal growth class, there are no partial payments. You'll want people to pay for the whole thing. So if that's the case, then you'll select No. Now what I want to do with the Science of Mind class is create partial payments. So I want to say Yes, Optional. For Science of Mind classes, we have a minimum payment. That would be the registration fee of $45 unless this is Essential Earnest or Foundations. In those cases, it's $75. Inward Journey is $100, and so is Practitioner Training. And there's more details involved with Inward Journey and Practitioner Training because we have a trimester payment structure and the entire payment structure. So I don't want to go over that here. That can be pretty complicated. So we would put a 45 in there. Yes is optional. They can pay for the whole thing now. We have no tax, no member discounts, and we used to use this early bird registration thing, but we don't do that anymore. We have a really cool button for that. Now we need to know how much is this class. So we're going to say the class is $220. Okay? There's no group registration rates. So that's the only other field you need to fill out on this page. I want to go back. What we're going to do is select Yes, Optional, the minimum payment amount, and then scroll down to the individual registration rate. And this would be the full price without any discounts. All right, now we're going to save and then click on the next tab. This tab is called Messages. So let's say there's something really important you want the person to understand before they are registering. In that case, you could put something in this field. Now notice you can create bold, italics, you can change the font color size, and here's the font color. You can put it in highlights with a background color. There's a lot of cool things you can do here. You could even put in a picture. We aren't doing this very much right now, but let's just say it's really important for them to know for early registration, you must pay by the pay 50% down by the Sunday before the class starts. Enter in your payment by erasing the minimum on the next screen and entering in your payment amount. Now this is important because the early registration button is going to stay on there until I manually turn it off. I want it to be bold, which is cool, and then I'm going to turn it red because red is a nice bright color that people will notice. You can also put a description of the event, which I don't really do. Okay? So that would be it for right now on this page. We're not going to do the pay later. We're not going to do any custom messages, but all those options are available. And again, I would click Save. Now let's look at emails. Now, if you want to send an email, this is pretty cool. And so we want to click on Yes, and then who you are, whether you're, in this case, these were YFM events I was scheduling, so I wanted to create a special email. Right now, I'm just going to call it Education at CSL Dallas and put in my email address. Okay. Okay, now let's look at the email itself. I would first of all enable the email, and then I could say, please remember to bring a notebook and pen with you. We will be journaling in this class. Looking forward to seeing you there. Okay, again, I'm going to make this bold. You can say, dear participant, and that'll be the easiest way to do that. All right, so then you'd say, maybe the teacher's name would be Linda, something like that. Okay, so there's your email. And again, even here, if you have, say there's a particular document they're going to need, you can click on this and attach a file. So that's kind of cool too. Okay, now let's look at the fields. Now these fields, there is a default. Now let's say you're creating an event and you don't need all of this information. You don't need their address. You don't need a bunch of detail. You can deselect those. The default is for a Science of Mind class where we need all of their information. So right now you've got first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, email, and phone. So if for your event you don't need all of that, you can always click on none. I'm going to leave these the way they are because this is going to be a Science of Mind class we're creating. But let's go down here now, and I want to show you the different discount buttons that are available. So this is going to be, let's say it's an 8-week course, okay? Level 2, 8-week course. Used for this event, we're going to say individual. Individual, that's the early bird, 25% off, 50% off. And minister practitioner. Okay, so individual, is it required? No. All right, notice each member. All right, so it's as simple as that. Save. And then I'll show you user panel just so you'll know what it looks like. The user panel is here. You're not going to have to do anything on this tab, just so you know. All right, now we're going to save and close. Now we're going to double check and see what it looks like. So I go to csldallas.org. I'm going to go into register. And I'm going to search for sample. I believe that's what I called it. There it is, sample class. So let's look at it. And notice, remember when we put in this red? Isn't that lovely? You can actually see exactly what you want to tell the person. They have to fill in each one of these, and this is where you selected what fields they needed to put in that were required. And then these are the different discounts. So they will select one of these, sometimes 2 discounts. For example, they could do a work study and also do an early bird and attach those. They put in their security code, which you've seen. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Now you'll notice here that there is a URL that's attached to this registration. I'm just going to copy it, right click and copy, and then I'm going to go back. If I do want to create a calendar item, I would go to JCal Pro, go to Events, which is Manage Events, and I would create New. And when after I enter in everything I want in the calendar, then I would say click here to register, or I'm using the word enroll these days. You highlight click here. Now in the calendar, the default hyperlink does not underline. So you actually have to add an underline to this and a bold. And now you come over here to this little, looks like a lock, and you enter that and you click paste. Control V is what I use. Now you don't have to adjust anything at the beginning. You can use the entire URL. And notice that the text says click here, capital C, capital H, and then click on Insert. So when the person registers, they're going to easily see this hyperlink is connected. Now I will go through this again on the calendar training, but I wanted you to see what that looks like. All right? Thanks so much for joining me.